12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, we're back. How's everybody doing? And this is Bob Gums of the Concern Forum. How's everyone doing on this marvelous Saturday? I hope everybody saw the so-called debate with all of the Democratic candidates. What'd you think? Who do you think won that debate, by the way? You know, you get a chance, give me a call. My number's up there on the screen. Tell me what you think. Tell me who you think won that damn thing. I'm curious. I want to get your opinion. But before I continue, because I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking about that debate. All I'll say is Bernie and Warren, the senator for Massachusetts, that nice lady, those two folks, I'd say between the two of them, they really kicked butt wonderfully. Bloomberg, if there is such a thing as a loser, he was it. For a short period of time, about that much, when I saw that he was seriously into the race, I had a few thoughts about him, saying, it would be a good thing, perhaps, for him to actually, be one of the candidates. But, sometimes you can be a little bit too obvious about doing things. And, now it's looking more and more like the guy's trying to buy the nomination. I mean, he might actually win the nomination. I mean, if he wins it, that's cool. Because I'm going to say right here at the jump, whichever Democrat gets the nomination, that's who I'm voting for in November. Okay? That's said. Boom. We're done with that. Now, I don't believe it's a good look for Mike Bloomberg to look as, boom, I'm actually buying this thing. I think that he actually needs to have something germane to give to the conversation. And he has to realize that he has said things in the past that are very problematic. And he has to deal with them. Comments on race, stop and search, also comments on women. This is not 1938. I'm sorry. People, a lot of folks don't take kindly to that kind of thing anymore. Best thing that you can do, hey, screwed up. Shouldn't have said it. I'm kind of an old guy, and I slipped up. That old age, that old upbringing kind of eked out, it kind of eked out. Sorry I said it. We got to realize in America, we are all tainted by this terrible diseases of racism, sexism, and I guess because he said something I believe it could be considered homophobic also. And he should just went on ahead and bit the bullet. We have a lot that we have to relearn in this society. And, I don't think that we need to constantly, because he's not as bad as Trump, all right? I know some people were saying, oh, well, we got Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. We can't have a Democratic Donald Trump. Well, look, Donald Trump is in the class by himself, okay? Because Donald Trump constantly and publicly goes into these racist, sexist tirades, okay, and homophobic tirades. You know, this guy, he insults people serving their country, spilling their blood behind their sexual orientation. Okay? So, no, he's not Mike Bloomberg, right? Or I should say, Mike Bloomberg is not Trump. But by the same token, Mike Bloomberg, he has his own, he's made his own mistakes, and he has to be, boom, up front with them and just admit it. Hey, I'm an old guy. And it takes time for an old dog to learn new tricks, period. Simple as that. And I apologize, and I'm working while I'm trying to educate the rest, re-educate the rest of America. I'm also working on re-educating myself, and we are all going to learn, we all have to relearn together. That's not hard. It's true, and I think that would be a good thing. Mike's, what's his name, from California, Steyer. I think he's supposed to be like the cool billionaire, right? Because I haven't heard anybody knock him for having a whole lot of money, quite frankly. And I think that's also a good thing. And he's a cool guy. He really is. I don't think that he made any bad pitfalls in his last debate. I don't think that he set the house on fire, but he's doing okay. Joe Biden, I think that he saved himself to fight another day. I don't think that's good enough, however. I think it's good enough for him to make it to South Carolina. I don't think it's good enough for him to, let me go ahead and say it. I don't think it's good enough for him to run for president. I'm sorry, I really don't. And, his late son was a Navy man. And I tell you, I have an affinity for Navy guys because I'm one myself. And I feel for Joe. I truly do, because he's a decent guy, and I think everybody knows that. We don't need to keep saying that. Joe Biden is one of those people. He says some goofy things sometimes, but he's a good guy. He's a nice guy. And I tell you, the thing about Joe Biden, I'm angry, to tell you the truth. I'm angry because I started off with Joe Biden. I've gravitated to Bernie Sanders, between Bernie Sanders and Warren. I've had a lot of respect for Mayor Pete. But my main interests circle around Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and Warren, okay? And I tell you something, I would have been very happy to vote, to have Joe Biden to vote for. But Joe makes me, you know why he makes me so angry? I'll tell you why. Because Joe Biden, he should have came out, mud stomping, ass kicking. He should have came out, Trump, who the hell do you think you're talking to? Who the hell do you think you're talking about? You no good, corrupt, draft dodging SOB. That's the type of language that he should have used. See, one of the problems with Democrats, and see, this is why Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are picking up so much steam. And I think that the establishment Democrats, the DNC type Democrats, the elected officials type Democrats, they need to understand something. Us poor slobs in the rank and file, all right? Those of us who are surviving day by day, All we want to have people out there who we know are going in there fighting for us, who are standing up for us, okay, who are kicking ass for us. See what I'm saying? We look at Warren, the way she was Wednesday night. We look at Bernie all the time, right? The way that he carries himself. Yeah, this old crotchety bastard out of New York. And boy, does he lay it on them. And we love it. We freaking love it. Because for so long, we just been taking it in the teeth. And we're tired, man. We're tired of it. We're tired of not having any hope. We're tired of asking why, why is it? And see, this is the big question. Why? This is the word that Democrats need. Will come. When is the convention over? End of August, right? And the campaign really rolls. Our logo should be why. What was it? Was Jack Kennedy? Some people say things and say why. I see things others can't see, and ask why not, or something like that. Well, our slogan or our logo should be why. Why in the hell can little itty-bitty countries educate their people for with higher education, and also let them go to hospitals, give them health care, and these people don't have to go bankrupt, right? They don't have to be in poverty. And these are little itty-bitty countries: Ireland, Spain, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany, France. We, the United States, we are the most powerful, greatest country in recorded history of the planet. As far as we know, as far as recorded history tells us, there has never been a country, hell, let's be real, we're a freaking empire. And there has never been anything like this since ancient Rome. And in terms of sheer power, we got them beat. Nothing like that, nothing like us in history. And you mean to tell me that we can't let our people go to a state school, a state university, a state college for free or for a minimal cost? We can't have our people have health care on some type of a single payer setup? Oh, come on, man. And these little itty-bitty countries can do it. They can do it. But we can't? Come on, man. We're fighting a war for 17 years? Trillions of dollars? And you're telling me that we can do all this stuff, right? That we got a bill, a DOD bill. We spent so much for military, right? We spend more money on the planet, more than the next 10 countries, our next 10 competitors put together. So we're talking like what? Russia, China, Germany, Britain, France, Canada, Spain, all, 10 of the biggest powerful countries in the world put together. And we spend more than that, right? Plus, we've been at war for 17 years in the Middle East. Excuse me, the Middle East and Africa. Come on, man. We can do all that, but we can't take care of the basic needs of our people. Okay? There's something seriously wrong there, folks. And we need to ask the question, why? Why do we have the largest amount of people incarcerated out of any country on the planet? Why? See, that is, if you want to talk about the difference between the Democrats in 2020 and I call them the new Republican Party or the Trump Republican Party of 2020. That's the major difference. That one question, why? Why can't we? Why can't we have single payer? Why can't we spend what it will take to give our people single payer health care? And I hear all this stuff, and like I say, I'm voting for any Democrat. But I will admit, I like what Bernie and what Warren are talking about when it comes to talking about college tuition and universal health care. Number one, we have 68,000 people every year dying because of lack of proper health care. Now, the worst scrap that we have been in since World War II cost us the lives of about over 50,000 people. And we lose 68,000 people every year. Every year. Because of lack of sufficient health care. So that's telling me that we have people who are dying who don't need to die, who shouldn't be dying. So on the one hand, you have people now, you got 90-year-olds playing Pony League baseball. You have people living longer, right? You having a crunch in the job market because people don't keel over like they used to. Somebody croaks at 60. Oh, he was a young man. Or that was a young woman. Because people live longer. But by the same token, folks in the lower strata, in the low economy, 68,000 a year. Boom, dead. From lack of health care. And in America, when you're talking about insufficient health care, you're talking about this whole health insurance thing. And see, Bernie brought up he brings up a very good point. And so does, what's his name, Warren also. This business about, I have a Cadillac plan, what they call the Cadillac plan. In other words, you get everything, or you think your plan is just so great. It's so marvelous, Hey, I got Blue Cross and Blue Shield and blah, 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 right? I work for Ford, GM, or whatever, right? Yeah, but see, here goes the thing. None of that stuff is permanent. Who was it? Was it Warren or was it one of those two? They made that point, which I hadn't even thought about. But it's not permanent. Some folks went on strike. Electricians? Some crew. And the first thing the man did, he said, well, listen, you guys are on strike, so no health insurance. They cut the damn health insurance. What happens in the event of an economic slowdown? And they tell the folks, well, listen, it's an economic slowdown. We just can't afford it. So you guys are going to have to give back, You're going to have to give back some of these insurance benefits. Is there a contract? I want to know if there is an insurance contract with any union. And I know a little something about this because my old man was a shop steward, local 452, confectionery union, right over here in Brooklyn. This whole business about these so-called Cadillac plans, is there a clause in there that says you are going to be covered irregardless of your illness, right? Irregardless of economic circumstances, right? Irregardless if your union goes on strike or not, okay? Now, if those three things are in that contract, in that contract when they're talking about health insurance, well, okay, maybe the folks who are against single payer, they might have a point. But as far as I know, that's not the case. So I'm prone to go along with Bernie and Warren on this one. Because if you have a guarantee, if we have guaranteed single pay, in other words, your health insurance, it's out of the company's hands. It's out of everyone's hands. It's like Social Security. That has nothing to do with where you work at. They don't control that. That's between you and the government. And I have yet to hear people complaining about Social Security. The only complaint that I hear people make about Social Security is not enough of it. But in terms, of it being there for them when they need it, I haven't heard anybody making any beef. None. And see, people need to see. This election also needs to look at start making people think for a change. Americans, a lot of us have forgotten to think because we have gotten this idea that somehow you can trust the private sector more than you can trust the government. And that's just plain crazy to me because the private sector exists for one purpose, to make money. The government exists for one purpose, to take care of you, right? That's why people trust the military more than they trust most things, because the military exists to take care of the nation, okay? The private sector exists to take care of itself. Now, one of the things that really ticks me off is when I hear these people talking about at these Trump rallies, right? Look, it's not about me wanting to cast stones, but you gotta call them like it is. A lot of these folks are hypocrites because, damn it, if you got a house, right? Especially if you are over a certain age, and if you have a house, and if you were raised in a house, how do you think you got that house? You got it from the government. That's right. Because either you or maybe your dad or your granddad got it through the GI Bill, or you got it through FHA, all right? Or one of those other vehicles that the government had to help people get their homes. All right? Most people did not have, back in 1949, 50, right? Most people didn't have thousands of dollars to just say, boy, I'm going to buy that house. Very few people had that kind of walk around money, okay? They got it, through military service or through the FHA. They got from some government resource. And then you go to these Trump rallies nowadays and you talk about people who, they want handouts. Well, how the hell do you think you got what you got, right? Through a goddamn handout. But oh no, I'm sorry. No, you somehow you worked for yours, and these other people they just came out, they just got handouts. See, that's part of the problem. That's one of the main reasons everybody talks about this country being divided. Well, yeah, we're divided because people don't tell the truth, and because a lot of people they run away from the truth. Okay? Point of fact is, when Senator Warren talks about how how people, we don't get anywhere by ourselves, she's right. We don't. And we need to start thinking about that before we start running around condemning other people and turning our votes into, weaponizing our votes so that we don't vote because, hey, well, this would be of good benefit for me and for my family, or this would be a good vote for the sake of the country. No, this would be a good vote so I can teach those nasty immigrants. Or this would be a good vote so I can show those niggas a lesson. Or this would be a good vote because I hate those gay people taking over everything. See? Now that's that Republican Party thinking. Excuse me. I got this thing on my phone now. Scam. Now you think about that. We live in a country where we can't even use our phone in peace because some private business, somebody trying to make a buck, is trying to, is trying to get to call us up to try and figure out a way to get money out of our pockets. See, that's what America has devolved into. See? These are our problems. And this has transferred into our politics. All the scams, all the hate, all the viciousness, the ignorance. And this is why we are divided. And if we don't recognize it, we are going to wind up destroying ourselves. You go to these Trump rallies. I'm curious, and I would like any Trump folks out there here in New York. I don't believe that there are many. But I know that there's some of y'all out there. You might not advertise it, but I know that there are some of you guys out there. I would love to have one or two of you come on my show. And if you want to wear a paper bag over your head or something like that, we could hook up something, okay? But I would love for you to come on my show and explain to me why you find Donald Trump so damn attractive. And maybe I can explain to you why, if you really love this country, if you really are serious about being a patriot, I can explain to you why supporting Donald Trump is the most unpatriotic thing that you can do. Give an example. And I wish all those folks right now, because he's having a rally today, well, I should say maybe he's already had it, because it's, I don't know, it's something after 6 here in New York. I don't know what time it is in Arizona, but he's supposed to have a rally down there today. But I wish all those folks in that Trump rally in Arizona today could hear and see me right now, because I would talk to them. And I would explain to them, we have 17 intelligence agencies. We have Army intelligence, we have naval intelligence, we have FBI, we have the CIA, we have DIA. That's the one, when I was in the Navy, I was assigned to DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, for 5 years. Out of the 11 I spent in the Navy, I did 5 with DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. We have NSA and a bunch more. All 17 of these agencies, right? And to, funnel all that information into one package, we have, DNI, right? Now, the guy who's in charge of that, he is like the czar. He's like the intelligence czar. He's supposed to corral all that info into one package. And when he speaks directly to the president, and he speaks to the Congress, blah, blah, blah. This is the scoop. This is the skinny on intelligence for today, okay? We had a guy doing this. Good guy, right? I think, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, he was a Republican. He put out to the proper committees in Congress, in the House and in the Senate, because the House and the Senate, they have their intelligence committees, right? That's how it's set up, so that they know what the hell's going on. And he said, hey, as we know, Russia interfered in the 2016 election. They have been continuing to interfere in our elections, and they got some really wingy-ding wingers cooked up for our election this year. And it is official. The head honcho over there, Putin, this is the guy that makes newspaper reporters learn how to fly out of 20-story windows, or have fish dinners filled with uranium, okay? Both of these practices can be bad for your health, as the cemeteries will testify. That's the kind of guy he is. Well, this guy, who happens to be buddy-buddy with our president, he very much desires that our president, Donald Trump, be reelected. That is his desire, and he has ordered his KGB, they don't call themselves KGB anymore. They call themselves something else. They do the same thing, but they no longer call themselves KGB. But they are busy like little beavers figuring how they can infect our electoral system to make sure Donald Trump wins re-election. Donald Trump is told this by his favorite little slimy snitch, a California congressman, a Republican California congressman named Nunes. Mr. Nunes is famous for being the little tattletale from 2016, hiding in bushes, that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, he did more spying on the House Intelligence Committee for the president than the KGB did. He spent more time spying on our side than the damn Russians did. And he went and he told, Mr. President, they're telling the intel committees that Putin wants to see you reelected. Well, every intelligence office from every intelligence agency in the whole world, Chinese intelligence, Israeli intelligence, the French Sûreté intelligence, the Israeli Mossad intelligence, British MI6 intelligence, Canadian intelligence, Spanish intelligence, every intelligence agency in the world knows that Russia and Putin want to see Trump reelected. But Trump doesn't like people to talk about this. So he explodes. He goes through the ceiling. So what does he do? He fires the professional intelligence guy, and he puts a clown. This guy has no intelligence experience. I don't even think this clown's ever been in the military. He puts this jerk. He's the also, by the way, he is the ambassador to Germany. And the Germans hate this guy's guts because he's a clown. He's just like, he tries to be just like Trump, arrogant and stupid. And now he's the DNI. And by doing this, Trump has put the safety of every American in jeopardy because he does not want the American people to consider that he, as president of the United States, has put this country at the mercy of a potentially hostile nation. Now, they had, I think it was, what was I looking at? I think it was it was MSNBC if I'm not mistaken. And, CNN. And they were talking to some of these bright, brilliant people at that Trump rally, who were going in. And I tell you, as an American, as a veteran, it was heartbreaking. It was bizarre. As a matter of fact, I think that would be the best term, best way to describe it. It was bizarre. It was like, yo, baby, what planet are you on? Russia, the present government in Russia, they are not friends of the United States. They are not friends of our way of government. They do not believe in a democratic republic. They believe in dictatorship. And these are the people that our president is close with. And these are the people that want to see Trump get a second term. As a patriotic American, that should be all you need to know. But this segment of the population is so full of hate, so full of resentment, they feel that they have been cheated out of something, and I'm not quite sure what. Because especially those folks that would appear to be over 35, they look not only fit, they look amazingly well fed. So I'm not quite sure what it is that they feel cheated out of. But there you have it. So I really don't know. But see, looking at the other side of the coin, you hear this crap coming out of folks' mouths about, oh, well, Bernie is a socialist. No, Bernie is not a socialist. Bernie is a democratic socialist. Bernie is like somebody in Denmark or Norway, Spain or France. Bernie is like one of our European allies. I think, see, this is the problem with Americans as we go into the 21st century. And it has to be said, because you cannot cure problems if you're afraid to speak about problems. That's one of the problems that you got with race relations in this country. Either folks are going to talk nasty to each other, or they're afraid to talk about it. And you don't solve problems like that. And you have there's a huge education gap in this country, and it is hurting us. How do you make people understand? We already have not democratic socialism. You already have socialism in this country. The problem is that we don't have democratic socialism. You have socialism. The corporations and the wealthy have socialism. Working Americans just get screwed under capitalism. That's the problem. The only thing that we have, and there again, Donald Trump is trying to tear that away from us. Obamacare, the health care, Medicaid, Medicare, he's trying to take that away. But yeah, that's a socialist program. Social Security. Social. Get the word? Social. Right? Get it now? Yeah, that's an idea. Started up under a very conservative regime somewhere around the 1880s in Prussia, Germany, okay? I believe that was under Bismarck, right? Very conservative, extremely conservative. What they figured it was a good idea to have so that the workers could have something, and not be terrified of having to be stuck in poverty, because that would stop revolutions. Get it? That's why FDR thought it would be a great idea. And it was, and it is. But that is a socialist program, folks. Now, go to that Trump rally. Ask any of those folks over 35, over 45, over 50. Ask them to give up their Social Security cards. Take it out of their wallet and burn it. Remember doing all those college kids that were burning their draft cards? Well, tell these guys to go out and gals to burn your Social Security cards. See how many will do it. They should. They claim that, socialism is so terrible. But that's what happens when you don't have people who are educated. And they're easily led. They're easily frightened. Or you're going to have someone say, if Bernie gets in there and we have socialism, that means that the blacks will be able to get everything, and the immigrants will come across the border from Mexico and eat up everything. That's what they say. That's what a lot of these Trump people actually believe. Okay? And I tell you what's real funny. And all those overweight folks, and I'm not trying to be cruel, but I'm being real. As much overweight folks as I see going into those Trump rallies, you better be kind to those immigrants from across the border that you are constantly ridiculing and putting down. Because that's how you eat, my friend. Seriously. When's the last time you have seen hundreds and hundreds of gangs of white Americans picking lettuce? Seriously. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. And yes, I have lived in the South. And I have worked in some of those meat factories when I was low on gas and I was hopping around from place to place. So I know of what I speak. And I would say at least 80% of the food that we eat is we get it because of people named Valdez and Rodriguez. Okay? There's not a whole lot of Smith and Jones doing that. Occasionally you have, like in Florida, you have some African Americans doing that type of stuff, but basically it is people of color that give us our food in this country. So you need to think about that. See, that is the thing about Trump. And if you wonder why I start off talking about the debate that took place Wednesday, and I moved it to this, it's because that debate, yeah, it had to be spoken on because it's important, okay? And I gave you the high points, but it was not. It's not worth dwelling upon, okay? Because that is not going to make or break us. What's going to make or break us as a country is if we continue this crazy ignorance. You know, this crazy idea that we can have a man in the White House that is selling us out to an adversary nation every chance that he gets, and that's okay. That is what is killing this country. That is what will break us. And it needs to stop. It's just that simple. And yes, we need some type of single payer health care. Now we have this terrible. It seems like hundreds of people are dying behind this. I hope I pronounced it correctly. This coronavirus thing, and we are not in a great position to deal with this. The main reason is because we don't have a national health mechanism in this country. I can remember like when I was a little kid, like in the 50s, we were moving in that direction, all right? At least in the big northern cities we were. See, part of my problem, being a native New Yorker and being born and growing up there, New York is different in a strange way to other parts of the country because you had so many immigrants come to New York. Social safety nets, for example. And see, the big mistake a lot of people make is that when you're talking about social safety nets, they look around, they turn around, they look at people of color, right? And that's incorrect. Because originally, social safety nets were put up for white folks, okay? In particular, they were put up for the hordes of millions of immigrants primarily from Eastern Europe that needed the help. The whole idea of the settlement house, for example. You know, you go down to Richmond, Virginia, even today, Richmond, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia, you know, places like that, Mississippi, Alabama. Oh, God. You ain't going to find anything like a settlement house. You know, if you don't have and you're hungry, you starve. You know, it's just that simple, right? That's why, if you notice, especially with African Americans, you know, these people, I don't know why they do it. They want to go down south. That's why they usually wait, especially those who have a job with the state or with the city or federal government. They get a, you know, once they get in a position where they can have that retirement check, a lot of them decide to move down south. And they do that because they know they can go down there and live, you see. They don't, when they're like 19, 20, 21, 22, first thing they do when they can, they get the hell out of there, right? That's one of the reasons why you have so many Southerners in the military, because they don't have nothing else. What else they going to do? Seriously, that has been the problem with the South, and unfortunately, it is still a large problem with the South. Very conservative, and very poor, and it's kept like that for a purpose. And I wonder, when are folks finally going to wake up and break those chains? Because it is a damn shame. And when you look at the high school graduation rates in places like Mississippi and Alabama, Georgia, Florida, it is pathetic. It is a crime. It truly is. And I just wonder, when are we going to catch up with the rest of the civilized world, this country? You know, there was a time when folks, how would I put this? In the 60s, we were really starting to make progress in this country. I know we had the civil rights fights and everything like that, but we were making progress. You know, you had the space race. Congress was kicking out money for education, especially for math and science, you know, things of that nature. And then when and this is part of the problem with the Democratic Party, because we dropped the ball, okay? We dropped the ball because we did not, and I'm not trying to put down Jimmy Carter, because as you can see, he's probably the best ex-president this country's ever had, next to John Quincy Adams. But we allowed the Republican Party to buffalo us, to frighten us, see? And you know, I tell you, this leads into something else too, because a lot of, oh God, I hate to, well, it has to be dealt with. This whole racial thing, right? A lot of what white Americans, especially in these so-called red states, a lot of what they claim to be angry about, you know, the truth of the matter is, they brought that upon themselves. They truly did. Not just in the South either, to be quite frank about it, but in the North also. They brought it on themselves. They all jumped on that Reagan bandwagon. Remember the Reagan Democrats? Yeah, remember the Union Reagan Democrats? You know, how many of you guys out there, right, in the union, and you voted for Reagan? How many of you white guys who were in unions and voted for Ronald Reagan? Twice. You screwed yourself. You sure did. First thing, what did Reagan do? He broke up the damn unions. Sir, remember the air traffic controller strike? Those men and women were right to strike. They had a legitimate grievance. And what did Reagan do? Instead of setting up, decent arbitration, he just said the hell with them. And he just fired people and everything like that. And that was stupid. That was wrong. And the air transportation in this country is still suffering from what he did to the air traffic controllers union to this very day. Listen, the Republican Party, starting in the late 70s and going into the 80s, they knew that their policies didn't make any sense, right, and were unpopular. So the only way that they could get away with this crap, they had to cover it up with the Bible, morality, right, and with race. That's all. And I guess you could say that they just tried to cover the whole thing up, say, with morality. And that's what they did. Because there is no other reason that any sane person votes against their own interest, votes to cut their own damn throat, because that is basically what a huge segment of white America did. You cut your own throat. The idea that, here comes the Democrats, what do they want? They want to do a big FDR program of government jobs, putting people to work, right? Infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. You're damn right that's what we wanted to do, right? And it was our fault because every chance we, came close to grabbing some power anywhere in the government, we didn't do it, right? When the Clintons got in office, they didn't do it. They should have. They basically gave us, Republican, here we go. 10-minute warning. They basically gave us not just Republican light, but Republican fun light. He could play the saxophone. Him and Hillary had all these black and Hispanic people in and out of the White House and everything. But in reality, what the hell got done? What was different than the Bush White House? Only major difference was we didn't go to war as much. That was the only difference. The Defense Department still got the same outrageous amount of money, okay? So nothing really changed. And then after Clinton, we let the Republicans steal the presidential election, and Bush Jr. came in, and we went back to war, right? And dumping all the money, not only in the Defense Department, but dumping it to our friends in Iraq, where we weren't supposed to be going to war in the first damn place. So, what happened? And that's why the country is in the shape that it's in now. And the infrastructure is 10 times worse than it was in 1990. And you still got Democrats who are scared, right? That's the problem with the folks that hang around work and hang around the DNC. You hear any of them talking about massive job programs? No. because they're so goddamn scared of what, oh, the Republicans say, there goes the Democrats, tax and spend. Well, guess what, folks? If you're going to get this country on track, you're going to have to spend money. Seriously, you are going to have to educate people. You are going to have to give people money. Talking about these coal miners, because we can't continue to let these guys poison the damn environment. You like breathing in coal dust? I don't. But by the same token, you just can't tell the coal miners, yeah, well, your job is through, screw you. You can't do that to any human being. So you're going to have to look out for them. And those guys that still want to work, you're going to have to retrain them. You're going to have to pay to do that. That's going to take money. So instead of giving these tax breaks to these people who are already wealthy and to these damn corporations, yeah, you're going to need to do some public damn spending. But do you see that happening? It damn sure ain't going to happen under Trump. And that's what I mean when I say, especially white working class America, you got to stop cutting your own throat. And whatever this thing you got against black and Hispanic folks, you got to get over it. And I'm going to tell you something else too. This thing about you got against immigrants, baby, you can't afford it. You cannot afford it. America cannot afford it. We need those people. We need those taxpayers, right? We need those hands that pick our food. We need the money that those guys and gals can make to contribute to our tax base. We need those brains, okay, to set up, start businesses and whatnot. We need those extra hands to help rebuild this country. So you need to really get your head straight, because with this guy Trump, all that's going to be another 4 years of hate. That's all. Four more years of hate, arguing, and basically giving over two-thirds of the planet to Putin and the Russians. So if you want to make Russia great again, you go ahead and put Trump back in for another 4 years. But if you want to make America great, you better put a Democrat in there. Honestly. Because this is ridiculous. This is crazy. This is insanity. And it has to stop. It really does. I remember doing Nam, right? America, love it or leave it. Well, you know what? If you're gonna say that kind of nonsense in 2020 and 2021, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Because if you keep doing this, what the hell does that mean? If you don't like it, America, leave it. That would almost be a pleasure at this point. Because with your hate and your ignorance, you have killed this country. You are killing this country. And that's what you don't seem to understand. You are killing all of us. This only thing we have is a military. And you're killing that also. What the hell is the use? You have a president that is begging help from our greatest adversary to help with his reelection to be president of the greatest democracy on the planet. What the hell is that? So that he can basically allow Putin, the world's greatest dictator, to expand his global hegemony over 2/3 of the globe. What happens? I mean, if that happens, what the hell is America? Our infrastructure is crap. More and more of our people, they can't afford health care. We're getting hit with a huge plague. What will people do without adequate health insurance? It's not a country anymore. We're allowing Trump to change America into a huge toilet. What else would you call it? You don't want to educate your own children. You don't want to educate your adult citizens. You don't want to fix things. You know, things break. They get old. They have to be. If you don't want to replace them, you have to at least, fix them. And if you don't want to do any of that, what the hell is the use? What are you? A flag? A flag is supposed to be a symbol. It's supposed to stand for something. It's not a freaking shroud. Don't you understand? To vote for Trump, you are betraying every man and woman that ever dropped their blood for freedom. And for a better future, you're betraying that. Don't you understand that? Well, why is that so hard to understand? Is it because my skin is dark? That what I'm trying to say, it doesn't count for anything? Don't you understand what's happening in this country? I gotta freaking draw you a picture? My God, what's happened to us? Listen, I don't know, maybe I get a little bit too carried away about some of this stuff. But I'm sorry, this is how I feel, okay? I see what's going on. I call it like I see it. If that makes me a bad guy, then so be it. I'm a bad guy. But we got to try, folks. Come on, people. We got to try. I'm African American, man. My mom used to tell me, my family, on her side of the family, we've been here since the 1680s, 1690, somewhere around there. We worked on Jefferson's house. Was Monticello? So, yeah, some of my ancestors worked on that. We were part of the soil here. And I don't want to see it go for nothing. People died. Black people, white people, red people, yellow people, died. Fighting for the future. Sorry. I can't believe that ignorant piece of filth in our White House. Oh, God. We got to do better. We have to do better, people. We have to do better. We owe it to all the people, Lincoln, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, man, FDR, Kennedy boys, King, and yeah, even Malcolm X. Everybody that played a part in this. You can't make a cake without all of the ingredients. Or make a dinner without all your ingredients, right? Even the pepper, right? You don't want to you can't eat the pepper by itself, right? But when you add it with other things, you have a good meal. Well, all of us went into this meal, and we can't let this guy destroy what people gave their lives to try and build. And we got to remember, we're fighting for generations that aren't even here yet. We're fighting for generations that haven't even been born yet. Well, look, I'm Bob Gums, and this is the Concerned Forum, and I will be here next week, same time, same place, and I thank you for letting me come in your home this Saturday, and I will be here again, and I will continue to be here, and I will continue to fight. And I thank you for your time, and God bless you all, and I'll see you next week. Thanks. You take care.